Hi, CAFA. I'm just going to wait a minute to have people come on. Hi, Kathy. Oh, hi, Naomi. This is awesome. I figured I would know a bunch of people that came. I think I'll wait just another minute to get a bunch of people joining. Can I back up? Hi, Cone. Hi, Kate. Thinking about you. And Rocket. Hi, Paolo. Okay. Well, I think that a lot of people will be watching this more so afterwards. So I'm seeing the JB team join. I will get started, and so that the people actually watching this afterwards don't have to wait 2 minutes for it to get going. So welcome to CAFA Live. I'm Jenny Bird, creative director and founder of the jewelry line Jenny Bird. I know a lot of you, and I mean, where do you even start about what just happened to all of us, right? The purpose of me being here today is I realized that one of the services that I could provide, because we're not sewing masks at Jenny Bird, is to give, basically to provide this service to business owners in hopes that it supports you. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to share the story of JB, and my main objective is to help you look at your company differently, to actually take practical tips and tools away so that you can, from what I've done, so that you can at least have some supportive help in this time from someone else going through exactly what we're all going through. The main objective for all of us running companies right now should be to quickly, as quickly as we can while staying well, get on a path to a roadmap, or I should say just get on a path to recovery and growth, to a return to growth. So that's been something that I've been thinking through and have a framework to share with you guys. So I'm going to talk about the storm that we just went through at JB, how to shift how you're thinking about your brand, about your company, whether you're a freelancer, whatever type of business you have at this time, this should be valuable. And then the phased approach we're using at JB, which is basically like, I'm imagining the story that's going to play out for Jenny Bird in the next 12 months and creating the chapters ahead of time in that story so we know where we are and we know we're progressing. So I'm going to share that methodology, and then just some personal tips that I'm using at home to stay well. I know there's a lot of content on that. So my main focus is to share from a business standpoint tips that will help you with yours. This is obviously my CEO hat on. Many of you know I'm creative director and CEO of the brand. So I would say that, for a creatively driven company, it's definitely for me been a time where my creativity has taken a back seat. I'm sure it will flourish again, but I realize that I am someone who creates when I'm out and about and most inspired from my everyday life. It was interesting because the first Vogue Global Conversations released this week, and it was with Marc Jacobs and others, and he was saying the same thing. He's not designing right now because his process is working with people and in his day-to-day life and going into work and being around friends and colleagues and his creative team, and I'm no different. So, but I was kind of beating myself up about, oh, I should be really creative in this time, and then I realized that it's actually okay. I'm gonna have to find my own new process, however long this takes. And it was not bad to not be creating so far in this period because my company really needed my focus. You know, like all of you, we are the fashion industry, and all industries are in great distress, and so is Jenny Bird, which we're going to talk about. So it was good that it had my attention. So I guess as Chris Cuomo says, let's get after it, guys. Let's start sharing. So JB, we were in distress. Like everyone else, we were hit. It felt honestly like overnight. We were essentially that night the NBA canceled. I realized I could feel it approaching, and then that night I realized that it was going to be a significant impact to our business. We are 50% wholesale and 50% retail, or we were before this hit. And I knew that our wholesale channels and retail partners, we were going to suffer incredibly. So, you know, we had this, a serious crisis stage, which is actually phase one that I won't be going into because we're moving forward today, but to acknowledge that that's where we have been and probably where many of you are still in. We had to make cuts to the size of our company. My main objective was to save the company so that we could come back to, we'd have a company to come back and work in. And, you know, so you're forced into these, you know, decisions that you would never otherwise make. And I think it was, I mean, it was a very heartbreaking time for everyone. For me personally, I could cry talking about it, and for our team. And I think, as you can still see, that our industry and myself and everyone that's been affected is still in like a PTSD kind of state from just the personal impact to it all. You know, financial security is a basic human need, and we try to protect it, you know, as much as we can for everyone that we can. In the end, we have stabilized the company in a smaller size. All non-essential expenses were cut first. I mean, everyone's going through this now where you're looking at how long of a cash runway does your business have to stay alive. So that's what we did first. And we now have this very agile, smaller team and a brand new company in a brand new economy. So that's what we're going to talk about moving forward. There was a big urgency to identify all the risks facing us at the time. We had accounts receivable that we thought would not come in. We had ordered way too much inventory for now what we would sell. So we had it was like a tsunami of like risk management and crisis mode and pure survival. And wherever you are at the stage in that, where I'm coming from is that JB has now stabilized, and in that I'm now able to focus on the business that we have, which is very, very important to make sure that we thrive through this time. And it's awesome to feel the stability and feel the lifeline that e-com has been for us. At the same time, we're not forgetting about our core business partners, which are wholesale market. And if you've watched the Global Conversations with Vogue, the first one that just released on Tuesday, it was with Mark Jacobs, as I just mentioned. He was talking about not even designing his spring 2021 collection yet. So, you know, we know that the actual system of fashion needs and will have a huge reinvention during this time, and it's going to take a long time for the system to change and understand what its new processes are going to be. So while that is happening, wholesale, we are looking for inventive ways to partner with our wholesale network and support our stores and support our wholesale showrooms, which is we're going to get to our innovative moves. So that's where we're at. And my heart goes out to everyone who has gone through that. But we're soldiering forward, and our objective is to bring everyone back to work and to grow the brand into a stronger global brand than we ever had before through these forced innovations, through digital and through new ways of working with our wholesale industry. So we're just working all those things out now. Here's the thing. I feel like I have a lot to cover in 20 more minutes, so I'm talking kind of quickly, but you know, everyone is saying mindset, so I'm going to talk about a way of thinking. Mindset tends to reference like a mindset for your personal mental wellness. What I want to focus on getting across to you guys is shifting the way that you're thinking about your business. This is the most powerful thing you can do before you plan. And then I'll share how I'm planning. But the first thing is shifting your way of thinking. So you definitely, when you're ready, and this is a personal experience on top of a business crisis. So when you are ready, what your objective needs to be is to get out of victim mode and into a mode of possibility. Because as we know, and it's like hard to hear this, you hear this over and over, but crisis brings incredible opportunity. And like I said, when you're ready to uncover the hidden talents and capabilities in your company, this is going to be a very important mindset to have. So the first thing that you need to do to get there is to just let go. Let go. When you go through the crisis mode and you go through saving your company mode, you're holding on. You are actually doing that. You're holding on and conserving what is and what was and what you currently have. And that now needs to shift to letting go. Letting go of everything you thought of about what was important for your company before, everything you thought of that was valuable in your company, everything that you thought you should be prioritizing. You have to just let all of those preconceived notions go and look at your company in a fresh eyes. If you were starting your company today, if you had your idea for a company for yourself today, how would you launch it? What would it look like? What products would you have in it? You're only going to be able to see the possibilities of change and reinvention if you let go of what was. I hear a lot of people saying, when is this going to be over? Oh, I can't wait for this to be over. How long do you think we'll be back to normal? Well, as you know, as we all are becoming more and more comfortable with and aware of, we aren't going back to normal. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. We are grieving that, but we aren't going back to normal. So you need to let go of that. And as soon as you let go, you'll be totally free and open. And that holding on and that conserving is not productive energy in terms of creating new ideas. Because what was the best thing for your company and your brand before isn't anymore. So the other thing is a way of thinking is really keeping your finger on the pulse of the environment and understanding how consumer behaviors are shifting, what consumers are valuing most now. Again, back to if you were building your company today, what would you do? Some examples of things that have actually really shifted in consumer behavior, like fast forwarded 15 years and they say in 2 weeks, is connectability. So the technological advances, people that were late adopters have been forced onto digital platforms. So that's interesting. What does that mean for your company? Disintermediation. It was already surging where customers wanted direct connection with brands. When I say disintermediation, I mean that. It's now like it's sprinted, it's fast forwarded that the convenience economy, people needing to be served direct to home, connecting with business partners has never been easier. Businesses around the world have never been more open for collaboration and partnership. This is a critical thing to keep in mind. Reach out to people that you would never have normally. When one door closes, this is the old adage, another door opens, but this has never been more true. The other thing to think about is, I don't know why, but for some reason as Canadians, we tend to be a little nervous about shifting our business, about what people will think if all of a sudden we have a new product line or a new price point, or we've decided to create something else. As creatively driven companies, we're just a little bit nervous about shifting and innovating and reinventing ourselves. But just know that this is a time of great freedom. And Donna and I were talking about this before. This is a time when people will not be judging you for, they'll be celebrating you. They'll be cheering you on for doing any innovative thing or growing or evolving your company in any way. So when you have that, when you're looking both from a perspective of what's the trends that are going on in the world, and you've got your finger on that pulse, and then you're also in the mindset of letting go and looking at your business anew, brand new, then you will be in a wonderful mindset to move from victim of a circumstance into someone that is focused on all of the possibilities ahead of you. And this is an incredibly and powerful place to be. So it's like from fear to possibilities, right? That is, if you remember, many of you who have a company now, when you started your company, that is exactly that excitement that you felt when you started your company and you get your first few wins and you celebrate your little wins, and that excitement around all the possible, you get some like early signs that it's working and people are supporting it and people are liking your product or whatever it is. You need to get back into that place where you're excited about the possibility of what you can do now, because what you can do now, there's just so many more things. So that your way of thinking, that's big. The other thing is partner with your stakeholders. Don't soldier this alone. We are all in this together. That is an incredible, another massively important thing to remember. If, the worst thing you can do is fight with, negotiate, and, like isolate yourself from your critical business partners in this time. If you are vulnerable and open about how this is impacting your business and you share that with them and you talk about it, it's amazing what with Jenny Bird, that's what we have done. And it's incredible how they've come back to support us. But you have to approach it with that partnership in mind. When you deepen your relationships with your people that matter in your company, and this means your staff as well, when you meet them where they are, and when you show them where you are, and you go through this together, the people that matter for your company coming out of this on the other side, those relationships will be so loyal and so, and you will be so committed to each other that the strength of it takes people and business partners, right, and suppliers and whoever all else to support your business. And that is the family that you want to stand beside right now. We are all impacted at the same time. This is not something, right, just happening to just you. So making sure that you can get your own needs, I wouldn't say to the back of your mind, but certainly put your partner's needs in the front of your thinking. This is like the ecosystem that will make your company work coming out of this. For me, that's an example of the stores who built Jenny Bird. This is all of our retailers. If anyone's watching, every order from the very beginning, we were 90%, 95% wholesale in our first 5 years. And this is a time for me, this was a time and is a time for me to support them. And it's been incredibly exciting in what we are uncovering and how we're going to work with them, and how they've also come to the table and given ideas, and together we've created better ideas than we could alone. So the last thing in a way of thinking, so we've talked about your mindset and supporting your business partners and your team. That means sometimes, by the way, for your team, like this is a personally traumatizing time. It is very important to understand that productivity has to be number 2. And the wellness of your team. As we know, we don't have companies without teams, so this is number 1. And it's a very hard thing for a team to go through, seeing other team members have to leave the company in order to have the company survive, and also go through this personal experience of COVID. So I'm very sensitive to that, and I'm sure everyone watching this call also is. Nothing that you can't provide enough support to friends and family and team members and colleagues in this time, and yourself, by the way. So one thing to be very conscious of is, I'm going to share some practical ideas now, and you guys, like, if you're not ready, if you're having a tough day, and you're thinking to yourself, I should be doing that, I should be doing that, like, no pressure on yourself. Like, these are just takeaways that you can take and do in a day when you're feeling really strong. Take the days off when you need them. Every owner, every employee needs that sometimes. We are doing a social mission also, which I think is very important, to have everyone in your company focused on what you can do. As I said, we're not sewing masks. We don't have that built-in capability, but what we do have at Jenny Bird is an ability to make ornaments and in jewelry, and we'll be coming out with a fundraising pin, which was the big idea. My plan is to support everyday heroes with this everyday hero pin, and it will go, the charity, the funds from it will be going to frontline workers and what they need most. So right now, personal protective equipment. It's launching in a couple of weeks, and CAFA will let you guys know about it. But we're super excited to be driving that forward as a company and our part for global, for the world right now. And I think having your social mission come forward like that, ours has always been lifting others up, is very important in these times as well, and not losing your commitment to that. So creatively driven companies, like I said, if you can't be creative right now, don't worry about it. If you can, all the power to you. You may find a whole new creative inspiration working from home. The path forward for JB. This is where you're going to have some practical tools. What I decided to do was actually envision the story of Jenny Bird, like I said, for the next 12 months, and actually put it into a plan that was like chapters in a book, because it is going to be our story. So the idea here is that we have a roadmap back to growth. And through this, that we are intentionally planning and prioritizing our business activities every day and every week. And it puts the whole staff on a path of awareness to where we're headed. Now, the interesting thing is, it's been really hard. I have young kids at home, so only a certain amount of work time available. And I've been working through this roadmap and going to be sharing it with the different groups in the company, and just shared it this morning. So this is actually really fresh for our team. I'm excited to see how it rolls out and how we're able to use it. But here goes. Essentially, likely starting in May, each team will be rallying around their priorities, and the whole company will be focused on 3 phases. We have these 3 phases as our roadmap back to growth. The first one is air. That just feels good, right? It's like I just breathing life into our company. This is being adaptive, innovative, and resilient. These are the 3 most important things we can do in this phase of quarantine. And in this phase, as long as we are seeing a sales decline as significant as we have now, which is still going on, we also have to be innovating to be ready for the next stage, but innovating because people are at home, etc. So that's the first phase. The second is recovery, and the third is return to growth. So why this is helpful is basically we're going to know when we've progressed into the recovery phase because of certain indicators. You could call them KPIs, and we call them like basically the indicators of how we know that we will be in that phase. So we will know at Jenny Bird when we can, so sorry, just to like clarify what the first phase is. This is air. This is the phase. What this phase is, we are in quarantine. Like this is what tells us that we are still in this phase. We are in quarantine. There's mass discounting across e-tailers. The brick and mortar stores are still closed, and the economy is very unstable. Our sales are significantly lower. That is where we are right now. Priority initiatives then are things like not launching massive new collections, but just sprinkling in the new. You know, doing like focusing on gifting and how we can be better at helping people deliver personalized gifting experiences to someone they love without being able to be there in person, adopting our promotions, etc. So there's different ways that we're going to, basically rules that we're going to run the business by, and how we're going to look at what we're doing, because we know we're in this phase. I will know when we're in when we start to get into recovery phase. What I have written down here, that's the second chapter in our book, is recovery phase will be known when we are at the sales level that we were in 2019, let's say on a weekly basis. And I'm just talking about e-com right now. Wholesale will follow these same phases, but we know will take significantly longer to get into the recovery phase. So then recovery phase basically is like kind of coming back into this new normal. Quarantine's lifted, but you know, shopping levels aren't necessarily where they were. Retail brick and mortar is definitely not in full swing yet. They've got a lot of stock that they need to clear, but we might release a new collection then. When I know that we've reached phase 3 is return to growth. Return to growth is for Jenny Bird, it's returning to the growth we had projected for 2020, which we are now like rewind, you know. A couple of years of building to that size. So when we start seeing sales on a week by week level as to what they were in when we start seeing sales at the targets that we had hoped to achieve for 2020, we know that we're on our return to growth. Now, the interesting thing is, if you think about our business, like I said at the beginning, we're 50% wholesale, 50% e-com. I project that wholesale will be on a whole different timeline to returning to growth. It will take much longer, which is also why it's super important for us to be supporting that channel and coming up with the new system of wholesale with all of our partners, our sales agents, our showrooms around the world, and our retail partners, specialty boutiques to people like Nordstrom, to say, how are we going to work in this new world, and what new system can we create sooner than later so that we don't have to wait that long for the old, because like I said before, it's not coming back. It's not going to be the same. There are some things that, the other key thing to say is that there are strategic imperatives for your brand. No matter what, Jenny Bird is on a path to be a globally successful brand in the contemporary jewelry market we are in. We are just having a beautiful growth curve. We just got paused for a bit. And the way our business will look in the next year will look different, that's all. The purpose and the plan to bring Jenny Bird to the world is still the same. So in that case, there are some things that you need to look at protecting and not dropping. If there are significant strategic imperatives or initiatives that you are working on for your brand, it's important now in these times, if however possible, you can keep those things going. One thing for us is our pursuit into the Chinese market, and we've been in the Japanese market with our trademark protection, because a tidbit too for Canadian companies is we realized that we had a squatter on our trademark in China and have been negotiating trying to get that back. If you don't have your brand protected in China yet, it's much cheaper to do it before someone squats on it. So I highly recommend that. I wish I knew that before. But that is a type of initiative that we are still pushing forward, because it will be important that we've got that set up when we're through this and we're ready to thrive, right? There's a few things like that for us that we've been working on that are still going to be very important to continue. But I think if you, the purpose of, like, if you set out your stories for your company like this and say, okay, like, I'm going to be in air mode, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to be adaptive and innovative and focus on those things until this point, and then how will I know when my business is starting to recover? Are my sales like what they were last year? You can use that. That's what we're using. And then how will I know when we're returning to growth? And really put those like indicators in place, and your whole team can see them, and then you can cheer as you get through them. I think then it actually helps you focus what you're doing every day at work. What's the most important thing? Most of our priorities from before this are now not even on our to-do list anymore. And the idea there is, for the last month, since for the first 2 or 3 weeks of this thing, you feel like you were on a runaway train and you were just trying to stop it and control it as a business owner. And my purpose in putting these story chapters in place and phases for Jenny Bird is to feel like I am in control of that train again, and we are being mindful about what we're investing our limited resources in, the most important things, and that I'm like actually back, driving that train again. And as Donna said when we talked about this before, you hopefully, if you get this plan in place for your business, that you shift from feeling like drowning every day and all of this stuff that you can't control, to feeling like you're treading water and basically, like I said, driving the train again yourself. So I went through that really quickly. I hope that was okay. I'm going to end in a couple of minutes, just see if anybody has questions on the thing. I was just going to share some personal tips. 1 second. Okay, personal tips. What am I doing? How did I even do this today? I actually showered. I actually put makeup on. I have 2 young children at home. My husband is a current hero as I'm talking. You may hear a meltdown in the background. Being at home with young kids is like a whole other thing. Thank you guys. Actually, this has been a really nice break. I'm a person that has to be connected to the natural world. So for what it's worth, this is what I do. I start my day, I get up, the sun rises in the east. We luckily see it at our house. So I do some sun salutations on our deck in bare feet. I just feel the weather in my pajamas, do some quick journaling. I'm a big user of the gratitude, the 5-minute journal. it's very important for me to start the day connected to nature, to the natural world like that, hear the birds in our backyard, and then to feel connected to myself. I stay in my pajamas for the first session in the morning. I wake up pretty early, where my husband helps with the kids until 9, so I have like a good couple of hours to get work done in my PJs, and I feel really productive, and it's okay that I'm in my pajamas. I can't really shower first thing when I wake up yet. What that allows me to do after a bit of homeschooling with my son then is to shower late morning, and it's like this midday pick-me-up, which has worked really well. And I sometimes, get properly dressed, and I sometimes don't. I sweat every day. I try to meditate every day. It's been pretty solid so far. It's really been helping. And then I just keep certain areas of my house as a sanctuary, little places like our master bathroom. I feel like all of our bathrooms are getting dirtier by the day. So it's just the one room that, with us all being home all the time, that I keep really nice, and I put fresh flowers in on Mondays. So I've been doing that. And basically eating well and staying nourished with food. Food has been a huge comfort. I know it has been for everybody. I've been finding that like my childhood favorites have been very comforting. I grew up in a very small town rurally, so mashed potatoes and all of that, like just the comfort food from my childhood has been very supportive to my soul. And I would say the last thing is like just recognizing that this is such a dramatic experience. Oh, there's a breakdown you guys might hear. That if I'm not feeling like I can do this, if I'm not feeling like I can like work through one of our priorities or work at all for a period of time during the day or for one whole day, that I just don't, and that I give myself the space, because we need to do that for ourselves in this time as well. So finally, I'm going to sign off and tell you guys who is coming next. First of all, it's been an honor to be here with CAFA. CAFA has been an incredible platform for our industry. It has been a hugely supportive organization for Jenny Bird, putting our brand on the global stage and celebrating it year after year. And what you do for the industry, CAFA, is incredible, including this. Thank you so much. This particular platform, I hope, is very helpful to people, and the lineup is amazing. So next week, Tuesday, we have stylist and media personality Peter Petru to answer questions around navigating COVID as a freelancer. That's really big. And by the way, just as a side, my heart goes out to all of our industry friends and freelancers and photographers and models and stylists and agents that are suffering right now. We will figure out a new system together. And then, so that's Tuesday with Peter, next Tuesday. And then Thursday is Paolo Leone, who's actually a dear friend of mine as well, an incredible brand marketer and strategist. Like, you definitely don't want to miss either of these guys. Paolo is going to talk about what global brands are doing to stay relevant in this time. And well, I know we'll have really insightful tips on how to shift your thinking around your campaigns to drive new acquisition and relevant messaging and conversion in this time. This is a really exciting time to relook at your brands. So if you've got any questions in advance for those two, for Peter or Paolo next week, you can send them to live@cafaawards.ca. That's the email, live@cafaawards.ca. I didn't take questions before this because I just wanted to share everything I had, but they will be doing that. So thanks so much for joining, guys. Stay well.